In the beginning of the Infinity Castle arc, we see a scene where Gyome Himejima reflects on his first encounter with Kagaya Ubuyashiki, which took place when Kagaya was just 14 and Gyome was 18. Gyome was astonished to discover that someone so composed and insightful was younger than himself. During their meeting, Kagaya immediately deduced that Gyome had protected the children he was accused of killing, prompting the former monk to bow in gratitude. In their last conversation, Kagaya predicted that Muzan Kibutsuji would strike within 5 days and instructed Gyome to kill him while he used himself as bait. When questioned about the certainty of his prediction, Kagaya admitted it was based purely on instinct. It is revealed that the Ubuyashiki clan possessed not only a uniquely calming voice, but also an innate precognitive ability that allowed them to foresee the future, a skill they had used to amass wealth and avert crises over generations. Kagaya, aware that the other Hashira would never accept his decision to sacrifice himself, entrusted Gyomai, the Hashira he had known the longest. Gyomai accepted the burden, moved by Kagaya's gratitude and his final plea, to protect the other demon slayers, whom he regarded as his children. Gyomai successfully beheads Muzan, aided by Tamayo's efforts to immobilize the Demon King. However, as Kagaya had foreseen, Muzan regenerates his head, an outcome that does not surprise Gyomai. He recalls Kagaya's warning that only sunlight could kill Muzan. Observing Muzan's unparalleled regeneration, far exceeding that of any demon he had ever faced, Gyomai resolves to restrain him until dawn, no matter the cost. In a coordinated assault, each Hashira unleashes their unique breathing styles. Despite their efforts, Muzan meets their combined assault with a chilling smile. Suddenly, massive doors materialize beneath the demon slayers, sliding open to cast them into the depths of the Infinity Castle. As they plummet, Muzan mocks them for believing they had him cornered, declaring that they are now descending into hell and vowing to kill them all. In response, Tanjiro defiantly declares that Muzan is the one destined for hell and promises to end him. Muzan, unfazed, accepts the challenge, taunting, "Then do it if you can, Tanjiro Kamado." As Tanjiro plummets into the Infinity Castle, he is disoriented by the warped surroundings. Gravity and direction seem to defy logic. He speculates whether this chaotic realm is a result of Muzan's blood demon art. Aware that Tamayo cannot hold Muzan at bay for long, Tanjiro resolves to confront and defeat the demon lord as swiftly as possible. Spotting the bottom of his descent, he attempts to grab a ledge but fails. Just as he begins to fall further, an arm reaches out and pulls him to safety. It is Giyu. Tanjiro expresses his gratitude, but before they can regroup, a demon launches a surprise attack. Tanjiro swiftly dispatches it using water breathing, first form, water surface slash. Moments later, doors behind Tanjiro swing open, releasing a massive horde of demons that converge upon them. Tanjiro counters with water breathing, sixth form, whirlpool, while Giyu employs fourth form, striking tide. Working in perfect unison, the two slaughter the demons in a fluid, synchronized assault. After the battle, a shaken Tanjiro remarks on Giyu's incredible skill, noting how he could instantly predict Tanjiro's movements and coordinate without risking friendly fire. Giyu, as composed as ever, offers little reaction, and the two press onward through the Infinity Castle. Elsewhere, Obanai arrives and is immediately swarmed by demons. Using serpent breathing, fifth form, slithering serpent, he annihilates his attackers and warns them to stay away from Mitsuri. Overjoyed to see Obanai come to her aid, Mitsuri assures him that she is unharmed. The two proceed through the castle together. Meanwhile, Gyome and Muichiro cut through countless demons with ease as they forge their path. Muichiro observes the overwhelming number of demons, while Gyome deduces that each one is as powerful as a lower rank. Their purpose, he concludes, is to exhaust the Demon Slayer Corps through sheer attrition. When Muichiro inquires about Kagaya's status, Gyome solemnly reveals that Kagaya had met a dignified end. Suspecting that Kagaya may have used himself as bait to protect others, Muichiro presses forward, and Gyome confirms this grim truth. Enraged by Muzan's actions, which took not only his brother but also their beloved leader, Muichiro vows to make Muzan suffer before ending him. Gyomai, equally filled with anger, shares this determination. On another front, Sanemi sits alone on a wooden platform, consumed by grief and guilt over his inability to save Kagaya. When a demon approaches, he effortlessly slashes it apart without even looking. As more demons appear and converge on him, Sanemi, tear-streaked and furious, defiantly invites them to attack, vowing to kill them all in honor of his fallen master. Elsewhere in the castle, Inosuke carves his way through countless demons, relishing the chance to test his training in battle. Genya, meanwhile, navigates the endless, confusing halls, wondering about the safety of his comrades, particularly his brother Sanemi. Zenitsu, hearing a sound in the distance, grows suspicious that Muzan may be nearby. Swearing he will never forgive the demon lord, he presses forward. Shinobu, wandering through the castle, suddenly detects the scent of blood. Opening a door, she is met with the sight of a demon surrounded by a grotesque display of bloody corpses. Doma, noticing her presence, comments on her youthful appearance and delicious scent, promising to thank Nakime for making his night so enjoyable. In the flashback, Kanae Kocho lies mortally wounded in her younger sister Shinobu's arms. She makes a heartfelt plea. "Shinobu, please, leave the Demon Slayer Corps and pursue a normal life, one where you can grow old and find happiness." Despite her sister's desperation, Shinobu tearfully rejects the idea. "No, I will never quit until your death is avenged." With her final breaths, Kanae describes the demon that attacked her, a figure with blood-stained hair. The memory of Kanae's last moments lingers in Shinobu's mind as the demon, Doma, reveals himself. Kanae's haunting description paints a picture of Doma as a demon who always grins, speaks with a calm, kind voice, and introduces himself with unnerving civility. During his introduction, one of his victims cries out for Shinobu's help. Doma, annoyed by the interruption, attacks the woman. Shinobu intervenes with remarkable speed, earning Doma's curiosity about her status as a Hashira. However, just as Shinobu checks on the woman, her body suddenly disintegrates in a gruesome display. Horrified, Shinobu stares at the scene in shock while Doma coldly promises to devour the remains later. As she turns to face him, she recalls Kanae's description of her killer wielding sharp fans, just as Doma reveals his weapons. Introducing himself as the leader of the Eternal Paradise Faith, he claims his role is to bring happiness to his followers, though this happiness involves devouring them entirely. Realizing that Doma is Kanae's killer, Shinobu angrily retorts. That woman was far from happy as she pleaded for her life. Doma, unfazed, responds, "I helped her by relieving her of fear and pain through death." He goes on to justify his actions, stating that he eats his victims to save them from the fear of death. Disgusted by his twisted ideology, Shinobu declares, "Your actions make me sick," surprising Doma with her hostility. He guesses that she has experienced great pain and invites her to speak her mind. Shinobu reveals the source of her anguish. "You murdered my sister Kanae." Grabbing her sister's Hayori, she demands he recall his encounter with Kanae. Doma recognizes the Hayori as belonging to the flower-breathing user he fought before, describing Kanae as kind and cute. He expresses regret that he couldn't eat her, just as Shinobu launches a surprise attack. Using insect breathing, Dance of the Bee Sting, True Flutter, Shinobu strikes Doma in his left eye. Impressed by her speed, Doma retaliates with Blood Demon Art, Frozen Lotus, releasing a frigid attack that freezes part of Shinobu's clothing and face. Forced to retreat, Shinobu remarks, "This icy air is cold enough to freeze my lungs." Though Doma praises her swiftness, he mocks her attack for failing to decapitate him. Shinobu counters by revealing her strategy: poison. Suddenly, Doma's head throbs in pain as his skin begins to decay. Racked with agony, he falls to his knees, vomiting blood. Shinobu, hopeful her poison might work against an upper rank, recalls Kanae's memory and steels herself for the fight. However, Doma manages to decompose the poison within his body, standing to face her once again. He sarcastically apologizes and observes the sound of her blade being sheathed, deducing that she alters her poison through her sword. Fascinated, he expresses excitement at battling a poison user and claims he'll adapt to the pain. Unfazed by his taunts, Shinobu reveals she had anticipated his survival and prepares for the next phase of their battle. With her blade drawn, she confronts Upper Rank 2 with unwavering resolve. Doma's memories drifted back to his childhood, a time when his rainbow-colored eyes and white hair marked him as someone special, someone believed to be connected to the gods. His parents, whom he considered dim-witted, had arranged a cult with him at its head, calling it the Eternal Paradise Faith. Despite the reverence, Doma never heard the god's voice. He simply played along with the charade. Worshippers flocked to him, seeking repentance and advice for their life's troubles. Even as a child, Doma found it irritating that adults sought wisdom from him. He cried when they begged him to guide them to paradise, believing that paradise, the gods, and Buddha were mere fairy tales. He pitied them for their inability to see reality, convinced that everyone was destined to die and rot. Doma believed it was his duty to make these people happy by devouring them whole. In the present, Doma stood on the battlefield, healing himself from Shinobu's poison. He noticed her breathing heavily and asked with a hint of concern, "Are you okay? Your lung cells are dying from my blood demon art. It's dangerous to breathe now." Shinobu, realizing the true strength of an upper-rank demon, decided to use multiple blows to poison him again. She called upon her insect-breathing technique, Dance of the Dragonfly, Compound Eye Hexagon, and rushed forward, stabbing Doma 6 times. Doma, impressed by her speed, remarked, "You might be the fastest insect Tashira I've fought." But as Shinobu backed away, she realized she was also slashed in return. Blood poured from her wounds, and she collapsed in pain. Doma taunted her, "You could have cut off my head with your speed, but your small frame holds you back." Shinobu looked at her blood-stained hands, lamenting her small stature. She remembered how she never grew taller, how larger hands and legs meant more muscle. Kanare, despite her dainty frame, could do it, and Gyume's strength always put others at ease. In her mind, she recalled Kane's last moments. Kanare's spirit appeared before her, urging her to stand. "You promised me and Kanao. Win with the resolve to kill him, no matter the sacrifice." Shinobu, crouching down as Doma approached, felt the pain of his half-hearted slashes. Kanare's voice echoed in her mind, urging her to keep trying. With newfound determination, Shinobu stood up, surprising Doma. She coughed blood, and Doma laughed. "The blood in your lungs is causing you to cough." Shinobu evaded Doma's slash and stabbed him in the neck. Doma, resolving to behead her, said, "Give up. You're beyond saving." Instead, Shinobu took a stance and called upon her insect-breathing technique, Dance of the Centipede, 100-legged zigzag. She sped towards Doma, destroying the bridge with the impact of her feet. Doma tried to slash her but missed, only slicing her hayori. Shinobu launched into the air, driving her sword through Doma's neck and forcing his body into the ceiling with one final thrust. Shinobu's memories of her childhood were once filled with the belief that happiness was an endless road throughout life. This belief was shattered when a demon invaded her home, killing both her parents and leaving her and her sister Kanae orphaned. They were saved by Gyome Himejima, who arrived just in time to defeat the demon. Though her own happiness was forever destroyed, Shinobu realized that others' happiness could still be preserved. The sisters resolved to become demon slayers to prevent others from suffering the same fate. Shinobu and Kanae made a promise to each other to fight demons, believing that even their weak strength could save tens of people by stopping one demon, and hundreds by stopping an upper rank. It didn't matter whether they could or couldn't. What mattered was that they had to try. Shinobu recalled the time when Tanjiro asked if she was angry. She admitted she had been angry for a long time, remembering the deaths of her parents, her sister, and all her Tsugukos before Kanao. She thought of Aoi, Sumi, Kiyo, and Naho, whose families were also killed. Most of all, she was incensed at her poison's inability to hurt Doma. Her sword slipped from Doma's neck, causing her to fall. Doma used his ice to catch her and pull her into a mocking embrace. With crocodile tears in his eyes, Doma mockingly congratulated her for making it this far, while insulting her for being weaker and less talented than Kanae. This infuriated Shinobu. Doma acknowledged her foolishness in trying to kill him despite the odds, and called it the fleeting nature of humans. As he decided she was finally worthy of being eaten, he asked for her final words. Shinobu responded defiantly, "Go to hell." Doma began to absorb Shinobu's body. Kanao opened the door to the cult room and looked up to see Doma clutching Shinobu in the roof. Shinobu attempted to signal Kanao with her hand, but Doma noticed. As Kanao watched in horror, Doma broke Shinobu's body in his arms, killing her and causing her sword to fall. Kanao desperately leaped upwards to use flower breathing, 4th form, Crimson Hanagoromo, but missed as Doma escaped and landed on the floor. The demon advised her not to attack him while he was absorbing someone, causing Kanao to seethe with rage. Doma failed to taunt her and instead fondly recalled that Shinobu had only a short time with him due to his abilities. He decided that this night might be really good, having 2 gorgeous meals at once. Licking Shinobu's hairpin, he commented on his fine evening, having feasts come to him one after another. As the upper rank continued to taunt her, Kanao admitted that somehow she felt the people important to her would be alive tomorrow, yet there was no way she could promise it with certainty. Meanwhile, Zenitsu approached a room and called for the individual inside to come out. The response was that Zenitsu's beckoning was an improper address to a senior. Kaigaku walked out and taunted him for being as dainty and seedy as ever. Zenitsu responded that as a demon, Kaigaku was no longer his senior. As Tanjiro and Giyu sprint in through the labyrinthine Infinity Castle, Tanjiro nearly plummets through an opened floor, barely managing to grab the ledge and save himself. Giyu warns him to stay alert, and Tanjiro remarks that it feels as if the castle itself is alive, actively trying to separate them. He knows they must reach Muzan and the rest of the core members quickly, realizing that Tamayo is running out of time, yet they still don't know Muzan's exact location. Suddenly, a Kasugai crow announces that Shinobu has been killed in battle against Upper Rank 2. Upon hearing this, Tanjiro wells up with tears, thinking about Kanao and the girls of the Butterfly Mansion. Giyu notices a piece of paper attached to the crow's neck, remarking that messages are being sent rapidly. Meanwhile, Kiriya Ubuyashiki, the new Oyakata of the Demon Slayer Corps, receives similar pieces of paper talismans of Yushiro's blood demon art on his head and those of his sisters, Kanata and Kukina. Kusina confirms Shinobu's death to Kiriya and notes that the remaining Hashira are still alive. Kiriya, now the leader at the tender age of 8, does not mourn his parents and sister. Instead, he focuses on the mission, having no time to shed tears. Kusina and Kanata also push their grief aside to support him. Kiriya orders the crows to spread as many talismans as possible due to their lack of information. Kusina confirms that Muzan's location has not changed, and that the Hashira are spread thin. He orders them to head north. Kumina adds that Kanao and Zenitsu are currently facing upper ranks, with Zenitsu confronting upper rank 6. In the midst of this, Kaigaku taunts Zenitsu, believing he remains weak. He rhetorically asks if Zenitsu is now a Hashira, and if he still uses only the first form of thunder breathing. Zenitsu, surprising the demon, talks back, questioning if Kaigaku is excited to fill the bottom place of the upper ranks. It was revealed that their trainer, Jigoro Kuijima, committed seppuku in agony to atone for a thunder-breathing user becoming a demon. The process was incomplete because a second person has to be present there to chop the head off, otherwise the person performing seppuku suffers. Kaigaku laughed at this and said that he didn't care. He complained he did everything to be his successor, but he refused to make him. Even if their master was a Hashira at one time, now he was an old man. Zenitsu says both of them are bad successors because Zenitsu can only do first form and Kaigaku can do everything else except that. Kaigaku, being furious at this, lunges forward to attack Zenitsu, but gets a slash back from our boy in return. He also remarks Kaigaku is too slow moving, like a completely different person. Kaigaku recalls his fateful encounter with Kokushibo, upper rank 1, and reflects on his belief that survival is paramount no matter the cost. To him, there is no shame in bowing to an overwhelmingly superior opponent. He convinces himself that as long as he remains alive, everything will eventually fall into place. It does not matter if he is humiliated, forced to drink dirty water, or cursed for his misdeeds. Survival is all that matters. He is determined that someday he will achieve success. Kokushibo offers him a path to greater strength, asking if he desires to become a demon. Drawing blood from his hand, Kokushibo explains that if Muzan Kibutsuji accepts him, Kaigaku will transform into a demon. He further details the process, emphasizing that transformation takes longer for stronger individuals. Kokushibo himself took 3 days. To combat the effects of total concentration breathing, a significant amount of blood must be consumed. Few humans survive the process, and Kokushibo warns Kaigaku to be grateful for the blood he is receiving, threatening to kill him should he spill even a drop. Kaigaku vividly remembers the overwhelming fear he experienced as he drank, his cells screaming and writhing in agony. Now, standing as upper rank 6, Kaigaku faces Zenitsu with confidence. He dismisses his former comrade as a coward unworthy of respect. Memories of their shared past resurface when their trainer, Jigoro Kuijima, offered to make both of them his successors. Kaigaku harbors deep resentment toward Jigoro, cursing him for comparing him to Zenitsu. Enraged, he declares that both his trainer and Zenitsu deserve to die. Kaigaku initiates the battle, wielding thunder breathing with his blood demon art. Using second form, Rice Spirit, he unleashes 5 consecutive slashes, injuring Zenitsu's face. As the battle rages, Zenitsu notes Kaigaku's increased strength and realizes he has consumed countless human lives, corrupting his sense of morality. Kaigaku counters, insisting that those who recognize his worth are good while those who don't are evil. He follows with third form, Thunder Swarm, enveloping Zenitsu in black lightning that burns him. With fifth form, Heat Lightning, Kaigaku combines burning and slashing attacks, reveling in his power. He then unleashes 6th form, Rumble and Flash, wounding Zenitsu further. Triumphant, Kaigaku gloats that his newfound power has allowed him to surpass thunder breathing itself. As Zenitsu falters, Kaigaku mocks him, declaring their differences irreconcilable. In that moment, Zenitsu recalls Jigoro's teachings. Thunder breathing, he remembers, relies on the mastery of its foundational 1st form. Even though Kaigaku once struggled with the style, his arrogance blinded him to his limitations, ensuring he could never become a Hashira. Despite their animosity, Zenitsu reflects on the respect he once held for Kaigaku's hard work, as did Jigoro. However, Kaigaku's insatiable hunger for validation, likened to a box with a hole that could never be filled, led him astray. Resolving to honor Jigoro's legacy, Zenitsu apologizes for the paths he and Kaigaku have taken. As Kaigaku watches in disbelief, Zenitsu plants his feet against the wall and stabilizes himself. With a calm apology to his former comrade, Zenitsu unleashes Thunder Breathing, 7th form, Honoikazuchi no Kami, a form of his own creation. In a single, lightning-fast strike, he decapitates Kaigaku. As his head falls, Kaigaku struggles to comprehend what just happened, unable to perceive Zenitsu's speed. In his final moments, he curses Jigoro for teaching Zenitsu an exclusive technique. Zenitsu, however, refutes this, declaring that their trainer treated them equally. The 7th form was not taught. It was a technique Zenitsu developed himself, one he had once dreamed of using to fight alongside Kaigaku. After Zenitsu beheads Kaigaku with Thunder Breathing, 7th form, Honoikazuchi no Kami, both fighters fall within the ominous Infinity Castle. Zenitsu, unconscious, plummets downward while Kaigaku, disintegrating, seethes with fury. The realization that someone he deemed weaker managed to create a 7th form torments Kaigaku as he consoles himself with the thought of their mutual demise upon impact. At this critical juncture, Yushiro appears in Kaigaku's vision. With a cold demeanor, Yushiro remarks, "Those who never give anything will one day never gain from others. Only wanting is the same as having nothing when they cannot create for others." He further chides the fallen upper rank, calling it pitiful to die alone. Demonstrating his agility, Yushiro leaps across the walls and catches the unconscious Zenitsu. As Kaigaku disintegrates into ash, a tragic end to a once prideful and traitorous demon slayer. In the ethereal afterlife, Zenitsu finds himself amidst a field of red spider lilies. He spots his master, Jigoro, across the Sanzu River. Overcome with remorse, Zenitsu apologizes for his inability to get along with Kaigaku, lamenting that his failure may have driven Kaigaku to become a demon. He expresses regret for never repaying his debts, and admits he aspired to become a Hashira. As Jigoro remains silent, Zenitsu, believing his master still harbors resentment, pleads for a response. Suddenly, the lilies ensnare Zenitsu's feet, pulling him downward. Jigoro, with tears in his eyes, finally speaks. "Zenitsu, I'm proud of you." Zenitsu, moved to tears, begins to understand his master's pride. Back in reality, Zenitsu awakens to find Yushiro attending to his wounds, surrounded by fellow demon slayers. Murata, recognizing Zenitsu, anxiously inquires about his condition and whether he can be saved. Yushiro, irritated by the commotion, instructs them to remain vigilant. Murata, dissatisfied with Yushiro's brusque manner, demands to know his rank. Ignoring the question, Yushiro administers a styptic to halt Zenitsu's bleeding, though he notes the potential worsening of facial cuts. Murata rebukes Yushiro for his pessimism while providing comfort to Zenitsu. The other demon slayers assure Zenitsu of his recovery. Yushiro comments on the fortunate fact that Kaigaku had not fully mastered his techniques, implying that a more advanced Kaigaku could have been fatal. Murata insists on maintaining positivity, though his shouting inadvertently attracts nearby demons. Yushiro, the sole demon not created by Muzan Kibutsuji, recalls Tamayo's instructions to assist the demon slayers despite his visible dissatisfaction. With altered eye color and a disguise, Yushiro's demon identity remains undetected, though his presence feels off to others. Murata struggles to sever a demon's neck, prompting Yushiro to urge him to expedite. Utilizing a Kasugai crow and a talisman, Yushiro senses an approaching danger. Meanwhile, Tanjiro and Gyu navigate the castle, noting the absence of upper ranks. As the hallway trembles, they prepare for an imminent encounter. Akaza, recognizing Tanjiro, taunts him with surprise at his survival. Tanjiro, equally determined, engages in a battle-ready stance against upper rank 3. Elsewhere, Tamayo, ensnared in a fleshy cocoon above a bottomless shaft, realizes her impending absorption. Desperately, she pleads for rescue, her fate hanging precariously. Scene shifts. As Kanata works diligently to map the intricate floor plan of the Infinity Castle, her thoughts are consumed by memories of her recently deceased family members. Overwhelmed by grief, tears well up in her eyes, but Kirya Ubuyashiki firmly instructs her to suppress her sorrow and focus on her task. He reassures her with quiet determination that victory is within reach. Resolving to follow his lead, Kanata composes herself and continues her critical work. Meanwhile, seated outside the room where the Ubuyashiki children strategize, two former Hashira Tengen Uzui and Shinjuro Rengoku quietly observe. Tengen marvels at Kirya's unyielding resolve, remarking on the boy's ability to press forward despite the profound loss of his father. Shinjuro agrees, expressing his admiration for the immense burden these young leaders bear. Filled with a newfound sense of purpose, Shinjuro vows to protect them at all costs, just as his son, Kyojuro, had once done, determined to redeem his family's honor. Elsewhere within the estate, Sakonji Urokodaki watches over an unconscious Nezuko Kamato. Although he administered Tamayo's human conversion drug as instructed, Nezuko remains in visible distress, sweating and groaning as if in pain. Sakonji recognizes the stakes. If Nezuko can truly return to her human form, it would deal a catastrophic blow to Muzan Kibutsuji's ambitions. After all, she is the only demon in a millennium immune to sunlight. Yet, as confident as Sakonji outwardly appears, he is inwardly consumed by anxiety. The prospect of witnessing the ancient war between humans and demons reach its conclusion leaves him trembling. Reflecting on his time with Tanjiro and Nezuko, Sakonji recalls the moment they first came under his care. From that point, he felt as though the gears of a long-dormant machine had begun to turn, propelled by the siblings' unique role in the unfolding battle. Silently, he prays for their survival and ultimate victory. On the battlefield, Akaza launches a devastating punch at Tanjiro, but the young demon slayer counters with Hinokami Kagura, Fire Wheel, flipping over the demon and striking his arm with his blade. Summoning all his strength, Tanjiro manages to sever the limb, though Akaza quickly regenerates it and retaliates with a powerful swing aimed at Tanjiro's head. Tanjiro narrowly evades the blow using Hinokami Kagura, Fake Rainbow, repositioning himself behind Akaza while simultaneously slashing the demon's face. Giyu Tomioka, observing from nearby, is deeply impressed by Tanjiro's growth. Once a novice overwhelmed by despair, Tanjiro has risen to a level worthy of a Hashira, now capable of holding his own against an upper-rank demon. Akaza, intrigued by Tanjiro's progress, recalls Kyojuro Rengoku's words from their fateful encounter. "This boy is not weak. Do not insult him." In that moment, Akaza recognizes the truth in Kyojuro's assertion. Acknowledging Tanjiro's strength and determination, Akaza resolves to honor him as a worthy opponent. With newfound respect, the Upper Rank 3 activates technique development, Compass Needle, marking the beginning of a battle to test Tanjiro's newfound prowess. Using water breathing, third form, Dance of the Swift Current, Giyu masterfully maneuvers around Akaza, evading his relentless barrage of attacks. Akaza, impressed by Giyu's skill, remarks that it has been 50 years since he last fought a water Hashira. The demon unleashes Destructive Kill, War Style, Disorder, creating devastating shockwaves that force Giyu to respond. In turn, Giyu counters with Water Breathing, 11th form, Lull, effortlessly neutralizing the shockwaves. Akaza marvels at the technique, admitting he has never seen it before, as the last water Hashira he encountered did not use it. Seizing the moment, Tanjiro launches an attack from behind, utilizing Hinokami Kagura, Scorching Crimson Mirror to strike at Akaza's neck. However, the demon swiftly evades and appears behind Tanjiro, attempting to decapitate him. Though Akaza's strike is nearly fatal, Giyu intervenes in the nick of time, severing Akaza's arm with Water Breathing, second form, Water Wheel. The demon regenerates instantly, and the battle continues to intensify. Tanjiro strikes again, this time using Hinokami Kagura, Flame Dance, aiming to cut Akaza down. But Akaza counters with Destructive Kill, Leg Form, Cap Tip Slice, fending off the attack. Tanjiro blocks the blow with his sword, but the sheer force of the demon's strike grazes him, leaving his nose bleeding. As Giyu continues to exchange blows with Akaza, the demon is struck by Giyu's flawless technique. Curious, Akaza demands to know Giyu's name, wishing to remember the warrior who fights so skillfully. Giyu coldly refuses, stating that he despises talking, to which Akaza, amused, replies that he enjoys conversation in battle, and will keep asking regardless. Akaza then unleashes Destructive Kill, leg form, flowing light flash, launching a rapid series of kicks that send Giyu flying through several walls despite his best efforts to block the attack. Tanjiro calls out to Giyu, but Akaza appears before him, seemingly satisfied to have learned the Hashira's name. The clash resumes, with Tanjiro performing a sequence of Hinokami Kagura techniques, while Akaza retaliates with Destructive Kill, dual-layered Demon Wick, Bone-Burning Sun. The vibrations from Akaza's attack reverberate through Tanjiro's sword, but he manages to evade unscathed. Impressed, Akaza commends Tanjiro for his growth, crediting his training and Kyojiro's influence for helping him reach this level of skill. Recalling their first encounter, Akaza notes how far Tanjiro has come, from lying on the ground, too weak to even stand, to now standing as a formidable opponent. Despite his admiration, Akaza mocks Kyojiro, declaring that his death was inevitable because he valued being human, which Akaza views as a weakness. Tanjiro, enraged by Akaza's words, demands that the demon take them back. Confused, Akaza claims he meant his comment as praise, but Tanjiro retorts that Akaza is only insulting those he deems weak. Akaza, unbothered, argues that his disdain for the weak stems from his belief in the law of nature, where the weak are destined to perish while the strong thrive. Tanjiro counters passionately, stating that his very presence, standing strong after countless battles, is proof that Akaza's ideology is flawed. He reminds the demon that everyone is born weak and depends on others to grow stronger. Tanjiro declares that the true law of nature is for the strong to protect the weak, and for the weak to rise and protect those they can. He also declares his days of doing what he pleases are over, causing the demon to clench his fist in anger. As Akaza faces Tanjiro, a strange, unsettling anger stirs within him. Despite recognizing Tanjiro's strength, he cannot shake the disconcerting feeling evoked by the young swordsman's eyes, voice, and words, which seem to cut deep into his very core. In that moment, Akaza feels a phantom presence behind him. A man's voice confirms Tanjiro's words. Everyone starts off weak. They grow with the help of others, learn from their struggles, and progress. But the only comparison you should make is against yourself, against who you were yesterday. The mysterious figure continues, urging Akaza to focus on his growth. By becoming stronger than you were before, you will one day be the one who helps others. Furious, the demon lashes out with a backward punch, but his fist connects with nothing but air. As Tanjiro watches in bewilderment, Akaza growls through clenched teeth. Tanjiro, you really are unpleasant. Without hesitation, Akaza launches himself at Tanjiro, unleashing his Destructive Kill Willow of 1,000 flashes. The attack shatters the ground, forcing Tanjiro to narrowly dodge. Shocked by Akaza's newfound speed and precision, Tanjiro barely has time to react, as the demon follows up with Destructive Kill, leg-type ringing of 1,000 flying planet. The blow sends Tanjiro reeling, blood spilling from his mouth. Akaza presses the attack, his fists striking with unparalleled precision, each blow magnetized toward Tanjiro's vital points. Struggling to keep up, Tanjiro recalls his battle with Kyojiro and desperately searches for an answer to the demon's fighting style. Using Hinokami Kagura, Solaring Flame Haze, Tanjiro aims for Akaza's neck. His blade seemingly distorts mid-slash, appearing to miss, but still inflicts a cut. Amused, Akaza demands to know how Tanjiro performed such a technique, even as he continues his relentless assault. Meanwhile, at the Rengoku estate, Senjuro prays to his late brother, Kyojiro. He thought of the letter he had sent Tanjiro, sharing a story about a conversation between a Sengoku-era Flame Hashira and a sun-breathing swordsman. In that tale, the Sun-Breather recounted their battle with Muzan, which left the Flame Hashira doubting their own strength. Despite this, Senjuro prays for Tanjiro's victory, hoping that Kyojiro's spirit watches over him. Unbeknownst to Tanjiro, Senjuro's Kasugai Crow has entered the Infinity Castle, carrying the letter but withholding it until the demon is defeated. Back in the fray, Tanjiro uses Hinokami Kagura, slashing downward at Akaza, who intercepts the blade mid-swing and attempts to snap it. In desperation, Tanjiro headbutts the basketball, who merely compliments his spirit. With his blade creaking under pressure, Tanjiro kicks Akaza in the chin, but the demon refuses to let go. Suddenly, the demon's hands are severed, freeing Tanjiro. He looks up to see Giyu standing resolute, the Water Hashira grimacing in pain from injuries sustained in his earlier clash with Akaza. Furious yet determined, Giyu rejoins the fight, ready to turn the tide. Giyu stood firm, the weight of his blade grounding him as Akaza loomed ahead. The Water Hashira had always questioned why he fought. He wasn't one for unnecessary violence, nor did he find joy in combat. Yet now, facing a demon whose strength eclipsed his own, something inside him stirred. His breathing steadied, his focus sharpened, and dormant instincts awakened. So this is what it means to push yourself to the limit, Giyu thought, his grip on his sword tightening. In this moment, he truly understood the relentless struggle to grow stronger. As Tanjiro watched from behind, he noticed a ripple-like mark form on Giyu's cheek, a clear sign that the water Hashira had unlocked his Demon Slayer mark. With newfound speed and precision, Giyu lunged at Akaza, his blade whistling through the air. The slash missed by a fraction, and Akaza retaliated with a powerful punch aimed at his head. Giyu ducked in time, his instincts guiding him, and countered with a sharp slash across the demon's neck. Akaza staggered back, a flicker of irritation crossing his face. Tanjiro's eyes widened as he watched. Giyu-san's speed. It's on another level now. The battle raged on. Giyu unleashed water-breathing, fourth form. Striking tide, his movements fluid yet relentless. His blade tore through the demon's arm, severing it cleanly, but not without cost. A deep gash appeared on Giyu's forehead as the demon struck back. Blood trickled down his face, but Giyu's resolve didn't waver. Even with his mark, Akaza's strength is overwhelming, Tanjiro thought, his heart pounding. If this keeps going, Giyu-san will run out of stamina, but Akaza won't. Demons don't tire. Tanjiro's mind raced. He needed to find a way to defeat the demon quickly. Watching the demon's precise movements, he recalled how Akaza had praised Kyojuro during their battle. He called Kyojuro's fighting spirit highly developed. Fighting spirit. Is that what Akaza is sensing? A memory surfaced. A conversation with Inosuke at the Butterfly Mansion. Inosuke had confidently told him, "I can feel it when someone's aiming at me. It's like a tingle in my skin. Even if they're behind me, I know where they're looking." At the time, Inosuke had demonstrated by asking Tanjiro to stare at his back. Without hesitation, Inosuke had identified that Tanjiro was looking at his right shoulder. But, Inosuke had added with frustration, if someone doesn't have any hostility, I can't sense them at all. He had pointed out the elderly woman at the wisteria house, who had once sat behind him unnoticed. He could only sense the intent to harm, Tanjiro realized with a sense of urgency. The demon must be doing the same. He senses our fighting spirit, the intent to kill. He paused, thinking. But if I could suppress that, he continued, his tone becoming more hopeful, could I catch him off guard? Even if it's impossible to completely hide my hostility, he stated, with a determined tone, there has to be a way to disrupt his compass needle. As Tanjiro pieced together a plan, Akaza and Giyu continued their clash. Giyu's blade moved like water, but Akaza's precision was unrelenting. In a swift move, the demon parried Giyu's strike, throwing him off balance. He lunged forward with a punch aimed directly at Giyu's chest, but before the blow could land, Tanjiro saw an opening. Now! Tanjiro shouted with determination. With a burst of speed, Tanjiro closed the gap, aiming his blade at the demon's exposed neck, the flames of his sword blazing as it arced toward the demon. But Akaza was faster. Sensing the attack, he reached behind him and grabbed Tanjiro's sword mid-swing. The sheer force of his grip sent shockwaves down the blade. With his other hand, the demon threw a punch, sneering, "You left yourself wide open, boy." Tanjiro barely managed to twist his body, avoiding the full force of the blow. Even so, the edge of Akaza's fist grazed him, leaving a deep cut across his stomach, as blood soaked his uniform. Giyu stepped in, his blade flashing as he re-engaged Akaza, giving Tanjiro a moment to recover. But the young swordsman's mind was racing. What is fighting spirit, exactly? Is it something I can control? Or is it instinctual? And then, as he watched Giyu and Akaza clash once more, the answer came to him like a flash of lightning. His eyes widened as the pieces fell into place.
The episode ends here. Stay subscribed for more Demon Slayer episodes and fresh manga cover.